Money Mavericks, and guess what? Something happened in the stock market. It didn't go down today. I have to know why. And Danielle Shay, who's VP of Options at whatever the name of that company is going to be with us. Danielle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to see you again.
All right, so I just bungled your title again. So would you tell us exactly who you are and what you do?
No worries. I'm the VP of Options at Simpler Trading, and I also just launched a new show with the BTT network called Traders Code.
I know Traders Code. Well, we'll talk about that in a second because that is exciting. I think it's the first option show we've ever had, which is way cool. I'm of course an option. I don't know. Is the word slut or addict? I'm not sure, but I'm more sell options in our accounts than I do buy them. But I buy them on stuff like I'm going to talk about now, which is get that gold GDXU chart up. And, we have been long the miners here for a while. And the reason simply is that we have, we have this strange thing. All the largest countries in the world have more debt than they have income. And that doesn't make the central bankers too happy. So the central bankers are buying, I believe the term is, a ton of gold, almost every week. And now, the miners are leveraged to these gold prices. So they sell at a significantly less value than the actual gold that they have. Now, finally, this has been dead money for 10 years, Danielle, you know that. It's gone nowhere. And in the last 12 months, so show us that chart because I want to make sure people understand that this is not a gimmick. This is not Bitcoin. This is gold. And all those people at Costco who bought those 1 ounce gold bars last year, they're pretty happy about it. Look at that chart. She's a beauty. Tell us what you see there, girlfriend.
Well, it looks great. Right here, this was definitely the spot to get in. This is
Yep.
what we call the squeeze. And so that's generally going to be my entry point right there when we have this consolidation. It's holding onto some critical support at the 50 simple moving average. And then boom, it just explodes. And at this point, it has a high volume breakout signal. So, there you go. It's a gorgeous momentum trade. Nice job jumping on that before it took off.
Well, and let me ask you, but here's another question. Like today, we sold some call options because it got to like an 85 RSI. Where do you get nervous on when these relative strength indicator, gets above 80?
Well, typically what I like to do is I usually use Fibonacci as far as my targets are concerned. And
Okay.
so if you're looking at Fibonacci, it's extremely extended.
Yeah.
Typically, I would use the 100% retracement for my first target. We're way past that. 1272, next target 1618, third target. We're already past the fourth target here. So,
So tell the viewers what that means.
So, if I was long, I would have taken profits for sure by now. And it looks like a good spot to sell covered calls to me. The only problem is that we have a weekly signal that's breaking out too. So, that weekly signal,
Yeah.
it could keep going a little bit further up into this next area of resistance around 150.
Well, for the people at home, GDXU is a 2x of the gold miner GDX.
Hmm.
And because it's a 2x ETF, there are no options. So what we do is we sell the call options on the GDX, the non 2x, again, just for hedging. But the dynamics of this, as they say, it's funny. I'm 100% fundamentals, and you're 100% technicals, which makes this just a perfect couple. But look at if you go back, it's been a long time since it's been here.
Yeah, if we go back, this is a monthly chart and whew, let's see, 2011 that it's been since
Yeah,
it's
I
been at this
believe you were
price.
I think you were 4 years old then.
Funny.
Yeah, it's and again, the gold went crazy after the financial crisis as a store of value. It doesn't generate any income, although we now have would you put up GLDI? Because that's a high income, monthly income ETF that doesn't really go up in value very much, but it has about 45 or right now like 51% dividend on an annualized basis, which does not, suck.
Wow, interesting. Is that one that you're invested in?
Yeah, we own it. So we have a high income, high monthly income portfolio that we have for clients, and then we for our subscribers at transformativeresearch.com. Thank you very much. And and then we have our ultimate growth. So we have ultra growth and ultra monthly income, and with the advent of these new 2x, 3x ETFs on the growth side, there's also these the option selling one, as you know. And so these are the option selling funds that, because the premiums are so high, it's pretty insane. If you're looking at, forget about the gold for a second, but just some of the high volatility stocks. I was just looking at an account today. She has $825,000 in our monthly income. She is going to earn $385,000 of dividends this year.
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, and we hedge it so that you can't, so that she has 10% downside, but the dividends are crazy, and it's in her Roth, so she doesn't pay taxes on it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can find a better deal than that, take it.
Wow, great job. And really nice picks there. I like it.
Yeah, it's great. Wait, anyway, so in your world, option world, I know you had your big option show today, or you were optioning around. What do you see for the macro? In other words, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. Where are we going?
Sure. So, I mean, right before we hit September, things were looking pretty strong, pretty bullish. If you look at a daily chart of the NASDAQ futures, specifically, I mean, it really looks like we were just going to launch off into new highs. But of course, September had to hit. We had to get the normal seasonal pullback. And I mean, at this point, honestly, now that we got the seasonal pullback yesterday, it was a little bit of a hammering, but look at the wick on the bottom of that candle. I mean, when we had that nice pullback that we got, and then we had buyers come in immediately after that, I would say that's pretty positive overall. I mean, normally September you're going to see more down days, and I mean we still could for sure see more down days, but I mean I think overall the action yesterday and then today with the inside range candle, I think things continue to look really bullish because buyers keep coming in any opportunity they get.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you go back to September 3rd, back to like 1910, for many years, it was like the high of the year. And then, stuff went sideways and so on and so forth. The high that we had on Friday before the holiday was sort of intriguing to me. But September from a fundamental standpoint, is a strange month for a variety of reasons, starting with the fact that if you're a pension plan, and you know this, but a lot of the listeners don't really know this. If you've been in, for instance, if you loaded up on the MAGAs like we did after the Trumpian meltdown, shall we say, the bold, curious tariff event, then you are overweight, MAGA, like everybody else is. And by definition, if you're running pension money for nonprofits or for endowments or whatever, you have very strict rules about your weighting. So one of the reasons why September, I think, to me, is a sideways from a fundamental standpoint for a while here, is just simply that they've got to, when Nvidia is 14% of your portfolio, you have to rebalance, because if you don't rebalance, they take the money away. Danielle, I don't know if you know that. And
No, that's really interesting information for sure.
yeah, it's because of all the rules you have in pension land and in these endowment funds and so on and so forth, because they sort of lived through that 30s crash and that 70s crash and that 2000 crash, and they learned that they can make money slowly. And then when you look at like Renaissance Fund, which is our favorite fund that we use for larger clients, he's only up like 29% this year. His average has been 32%. Why? Because he's like the guy who originated algorithmic trading. And what he does is the same thing. The way he runs money for a large endowment is completely different than the way he runs for his hedge fund. And so when they get overweight, they automatically keep reweighting to stay within the rules. So that's one of the reasons I think fundamentally why September is. But you're saying if as long as we stay above that.
Well, it's one of those things where on a technical basis, I just keep following the trend. And as long as the trend remains intact, I'm going to continue focusing on the upside. But, definitely I put on less risk during seasonally weak times when it comes to like aggressive momentum names. But
Right.
another thing that I like to do, which I'm sure you like to do, is you probably like to pick up some buys during September, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I sound like the counter dude here. We like selling puts for our favorite, to get with some of these ones that have such high premium. Um, for instance, in Nvidia, we've been in Nvidia for a long time, right? So we have a low cost basis, and that makes me brilliant. But when you sell these call options and you just get premium, we take that away from our cost basis. So when you take the amount of premium in our average account since May 23 that we got hard and long into Nvidia, some of our accounts have a negative cost basis, Danielle, based on how much premium they have received. And that makes the return on investment really high. You know what I'm saying?
Nice. That's a great job. Great work. When do you normally sell your calls against your shares?
Yeah, we try to do it, right when the month rolls over, because usually get the most premium on selling the puts, and then we want to have the market, the Nasdaq 100 over its 50-day line. It has bounced off that line, shown support, hit some of the basic technicals that you do in your sleep. But for me, it takes me like 30 minutes. Okay, and we. But when you get that much premium, when you can get like 5% of your position in cash money, and what's the worst that can happen? Well, you're going to have to buy a stock that you want to buy anyway. That's sort of fun. That makes it a lot of fun.
Nice. I like it. That's a pretty good regular strategy. I thought you were saying you were selling the regular covered calls, but I see what you're saying now. You're selling the puts on a regular basis. Got it.
Ning, ning, ning. Yeah, and covered calls. It's just in this market's been so strong. I don't want to be that call away, because it would be short-term capital gains for folks. And when we deliver our returns for people, and I say, that's the good news. The bad news is you owe 50% of that in taxes. They don't like that very much. I don't know about you, but people are very, very hissy-fitty about paying 50% of their gains in taxes. So we stay away from it. But not enough about me. How about you? So, what are you doing with your client? I know you do the Wednesday. Tell me about that thing you do every day or every other day, where you have subscribers come in and you go through the charts, the ones you like the best, I assume.
Sure. So, at Simpler Trading, we have a trading room. It's called the Mastering the Trade Room. And typically we focus on high momentum, relative strength stocks. We look for tickers that are consolidating and in squeezes and are potentially going to break out. That's why I love that gold miners chart that you gave me
Yeah,
first thing. And so, we always start with the NASDAQ, S&P futures, and then just basically drill down from there. We go sector to sector. We trade a lot of the Mag 7s.
yeah, of
There's,
course.
typically a lot of good setups in there. Trade earnings. We like those. And lately I've been, especially throughout the summer, I was trading a lot of high momentum short interest names that just
Yeah,
had a lot
like
of,
what is time? I know we get the short interest rate thing every day, and some of these stocks, OMG,
yeah, I mean,
25% of the float short, 50% of the float short.
yeah, I mean, I can show you my list. It's,
Please.
typically just go through the list and see what's moving today, especially whenever the market's down, like the short float tickers are going to get hammered. That's pretty normal. But, you typically want to get these when you get these high momentum moves going up and you're pretty close to those previous
Wow.
highs, because those are the times when those short float tickers are getting squeezed. So, I've been trading a lot of the quantum names. We have QUBT, IonQ, RGTI. Um,
Yeah,
today,
we own those in very small positions, but there is no question that, particularly Rigetti. Again, I'm the fundamental guy. Rigetti is the farthest down the road with actually having a product out there.
really,
Also, add to your list Fluor, FLR. because Fluor owns like now almost 41% of Rigetti, and also they also own the what am I trying to say? The modular reactor SMR. I mean,
Oh,
it's
very interesting. Okay, I'll
yeah,
definitely add that one on the list.
yeah. It doesn't trade as crazy as SMR or Qubit or any of the quantum names, but when you get into these small caps, so what's the formula? What makes your eyes like go woo?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I could take a look at any of these really.
Sure.
OKLO, SMR was really moving today. We can look at that one. Affirm
Yeah.
that one's been on my watch list a lot. Specifically, what I like to see is I like a bullish trending pattern, of course.
Now, is
Anything
this
that
one of your
has,
cool custom charts?
yeah, that's right. This is called the earnings hot zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this longer than most of you people have been alive. Okay, her charts are by far the best I have ever seen. Stevie Wonder could look at his chart and figure and make money. I mean,
Wow, that's a great compliment. Thank you.
it is just it doesn't require you to sort of squint, particularly on the size that you're showing it right now. And I could just not tell you, if you like to trade and you like to trade options, this gal has got the shizzle. Now, how do you, well, if I'm a subscriber, do I get access to your cool chart setups, or is that something additional?
So some of the chart setups I give out for free to subscribers in the Mastering the Trade room. This one specifically is an additional cost because this is an earnings grid, and
Wow.
it has a lot of custom code on it, something that I worked on for a long time. And this one is additional, but my regular swing grid, yes, I give out to subscribers in our trading room.
And what system are you on? Because I can't pull this up on Yahoo, of
This is
course.
a Thinkorswim Schwab.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, we
Hmm.
actually have our wealth accounts at Schwab, and we do use Thinkorswim. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to subscribe because this chart just, you know, it's who needs to read? Just
Well, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about recognizing patterns. And basically, what I did is I just wanted to make charts that make it really easy for me to identify the patterns really quickly so that I can speed up my workflow.
yeah, I did awesome. All right, so give our subscribers some hot picks from Danielle the Slayer. That's what I call you now.
So, I mean, this, for example, is just one of the tickers that I've been trading this summer, and talked about it on Charles Payne's shows a couple times. I was just there in New York last week, and we were talking about this one right before earnings. And I mean, one thing that I like to look for is tickers that have short float that also have these big gaps over earnings. So, as you might guess, these bubbles are the post earnings moves. And so what you'll see is that with this ticker, I mean, yes, it does trade lower sometimes,
Sure.
but you've had some pretty big moves to the upside post earnings, and then overall, you're in a bullish trend. It's not perfect, it's a little bit wonky, but overall, we have bullish moves. And then another thing that I look for, and I use this grid for, is I look specifically for the move going up into that earnings report and then also after, because,
Uh-huh.
smart money out there, if they like a name, they're going to be buying it before the earnings report. And then after you see the stock gap up, if people are still coming in and buying it, that's another really bullish sign. And so,
Yeah. Yeah, and
mhm.
that's. I mean, we've owned a firm for a long time. We have a portfolio sector I call the top 20% and the bottom 50%. In a firm, because of their buy now pay later, is ubiquitous. It's on everybody basically, and it just continues to beat. Now we don't trade it, we own it. But again, what we've been doing is selling short-term put options, well, as you go into earnings, because they've been beating earnings every time.
Yep. And so the grid, I mean, it basically just shows you, how often they beat. And then really easily, these are the earning stats that I use. And so, for example, with a firm, the 21 days before earnings over the last 8 quarters, it's been up 11.39% on average. And then the post earnings 8-day average is also positive, and it's been up another 6.61% in the 8 days after earnings. So when I look at a ticker, and I can very clearly see it's gapping up after earnings. They're beating earnings. They rally going into earnings and they rally after earnings. And then, on top of that, you definitely want to look at the actual fundamental numbers just to see
Sure.
if, obviously. But as far as what this graph is showing, that's what it's telling you. So I can just immediately look at the chart and say, hey, look at that. Look at all green here. These green screens, basically it just means that during that time frame it was up.
Yeah.
So
And how about the
green,
short
green, green.
interest? Are you also showing the short interest going into?
So Schwab still doesn't have short interest that I know of, but
That
I
was
can,
a testy sigh.
yeah, it's one of those things where I would love to create some short interest tools, but so far, at least to my current knowledge, they still don't have it. So I use other websites for that, and it looks like
Yeah.
they have about 6.74% short float right now.
Well, not that I'm a Chat GPT addict, but I am. Um, and all I do is, when we're looking at it, say, as opposed to going through, I just ask Chat GPT, what's the short interest in freaking a firm today? And you get it in about 8 seconds.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
do that now.
Yeah. I mean, it just, can you imagine if you're like getting out of school today and you've spent like $200,000 on your MBA and you want to go work, at a major bulge bracket firm starting at the bottom? Well, there is no bottom. When I started, of course, there was an ice age at that time, so it was a little difficult to travel. But you did by hand or on your slide rule or on a calculator, on an old Bloomberg to try to figure that thing out, which may have taken you an hour and a half.
Yes, exactly. And so I don't know. For me, that's personally why I like the custom tools. I like the color coding. It just boom, boom, boom. Time is money, right?
Time is money, and also money is money. So, I like to make it. And wow. All right. So give us another. I'm enthralled with this chart. Okay. I mean, I've always been enthralled by you, but your charts are stupid, ridiculously good. They're just fantastic.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm glad to know that you like our GTI. I mean, that's one that I added recently to my son's portfolio. And I mean, it is, I will say that when you look at this chart, I mean, it's definitely not anywhere near as consistent as a firm is, right? So, I mean, you can see that it's
Yeah,
gapping
but this is
down after
Rigetti.
earnings.
It's the highest volatility stock we've ever been involved with.
But, I don't know. What I like about it is that, the trend is going higher even though it's gapping down after earnings. I also like that buyers come in and buy it after it gaps down after earnings. So, I mean,
Yep.
that's a good sign.
Yep.
And then, what I really liked about it was not this quarter, but the quarter before they were actually positive. So that's a good bonus right there. They weren't negative. So sometimes with a lot of these high volatility names, you can kind of pick them out before they go crazy, just because, if you can notice when they start becoming profitable, you can notice that the earnings trends are kind of improving. So
Yeah.
there's a
I
couple
don't want
different
to
things
burst
that
your
I've noticed here.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but first off, Rigetti has never made a profit since it's been around. Dave Rigetti, who founded it, was a neighbor of mine in Bethesda, Maryland. I have known these guys forever. They got
Really? You
in.
do?
Yeah, they're quantum computing. They're the leading, quantum computing application out there. You can get quantum computing as a service from them. And trust me, when you look at like what's happened to Salesforce, got reported today about how the North Koreans have just been stealing, billions out of enterprise software. Um, Somebody in North Korea is using Rigetti Quantum to break into some of these enterprise deals. But Rigetti it will be profitable in about 2028, 29. But what happens, here's what gets me, Danielle, is um, sometimes it melts up for no reason whatsoever. And there's no fundamental reason why. And it feels like that all the chat boards and Reddit and everything else have now all put buys out, sort of like meme like. Have you got a meme like graph you could show about how many people on Reddit are going, yeah, I gotta buy it, man, I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Well, maybe Thinkorswim has the numbers wrong in this quarter then, but overall, I still really like the long-term trend. And I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like the EPS numbers are certainly increasing. And I don't know. It says right here that this quarter was profitable, but I think that the guy, so you have the better idea here.
Well, no, I mean it's not cash flow positive.
Got it.
Uh,
Okay.
right. They got a big order in, and they had to they record it. They're sitting on I don't know how many now, $800 million of cash. Okay, so they're not going anywhere.
Wow.
But and they are, the next big thing in computing is not AI, it is quantum. Um, and there's multiple other ones. Show me the RGTX. That's the 2X one. I'm curious to see that.
Let's see. Looks beautiful on the daily chart. Really nice consolidation. Looks like it's going to break out. And you can see, let's see here. Looks like we have a target probably around 60, or sorry, 63 to
Yeah,
70.
right.
Yeah,
The former high.
that's right. Maybe even upwards into 80 if we get that nice short squeeze going.
Yeah, and so then how much is short here?
Let me see. I think
I
this one,
just
the short float was pretty high, which,
yeah, it
the the Reddit interest always helps. So it looks like we have
right.
a 14.85% short float on RGTI.
And how do you consider that? Do you see that okay, a lot, a little?
Some of these tickers have had decent moves when they have 10% short float or even 8%, but
Mhm.
15 to 20% is really what I like to see. And then anything over 20 is really good. I mean, especially if you can get like 30% short float, then
Oh my
that's
gosh,
pretty
yes.
explosive.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. It's so intriguing to me. It's sort of like they go in and out of favor.
Hmm.
1 week Reddit, oh yeah, we got it, nothing, right? And then there's Rocket Lab. We're actually investors. We do trade a little bit, but I can't own something that goes up 20% and down 20% in a day.
It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, but it's to trade it. Oh my gosh! I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah,
Um,
we get some pretty nice moves in there.
yeah, and then option wise, are you trading the stocks or are you long options?
So for this one, I've been in and out of the options a few times throughout the summer. But then I did also just buy it in my son's long-term account. So a
Well, for
little bit of both.
for your son's long term account, Rigetti, Qubit, the only two guys that really play. The one I want you to bring up now, though, is Fluor, FLR,
Uh-huh.
because Fluor, if we switch over to the small nuclear reactors, they are building SMRs. They built the first one for SMR, the small nuclear reactor company. They're the only ones who's been certified by the Nuclear Regulatory Association. So we love SMR. It's just that Fluor, because they got so much stock, is now sort of a proxy for SMR. And oh, by the way, it sells for like a 14 PE because it's a construction company. So let's see this one, girlfriend.
Wow, well, that's a great tip. I mean, I was noticing that SMR was rallying really well today. And I mean, I've been in OKLO and SMR this summer. And
Yep,
so
yep.
yeah, it's nice. I mean, FLR looks pretty good, except for I don't like this most recent gap down after earnings. That 25% gap down. Ooh, that's kind of brutal, but it's trying to recover after that. We'll see if it can get through 45 and then through 48 on the post earnings recovery.
Yeah, without boring anybody, there were some there were some factors that had to that loss that had nothing to do on a long term basis. But as that SMR stock goes up in value, it now becomes like 15% of the market cap of Fluor. I mean, it's pretty cray.
Wow, that's a great tip because I mean, I like SMR and I was noticing that today it was up, and the rest of the market was just a little bit lackluster. So you can see that, SMR is up 8.54% today at the end of the day, and it was trying to break through the overhead
Yeah.
resistance around 40. So, I mean, if we could break through that with some high volume and momentum, then, 50 and then 55 would be the next targets.
Wow. So in the morning when you do this for your subscribers, is it a half an hour? Is it an hour? Is it 10 minutes? How much time do you put in for? And I assume you're bringing the charts that you like the best.
That's right. So it's an hour, usually 3 times a week, sometimes four. Generally, I do my sessions the last hour or two of market hours. So, I'm in Pacific time, so that's going to be around 11 or 12 o'clock Pacific. But yeah, I mean, generally come in, and what I do is I just pick out, well, first of all, I always start with the indexes because I start
Yeah.
with the indexes, narrow down to the different sectors, and then I always go over the Mag 7, see if I can find anything there. And then after that, I go over whatever picks I have. And then I take questions. People in the trading room, they have a lot of great ideas, a lot of great questions. So oftentimes, what will happen is people will ask me about a specific ticker that they saw, and I'll look
Sure.
at it and I'll say, wow, that looks great. Let's buy it. So.
Hey, while we're jonesing on these charts, how about bonds? Do you ever trade one of these leveraged bond funds, etc.?
No, no, never do. I usually just primarily stick with equities. And I mean, I'll trade like index ETFs or just regular ETFs. Don't usually trade the bonds, but I'm happy to look at whatever chart you want to look at.
Well, it's just intriguing that the 10-year bond at 5% is like the demarcation line. I know you don't do economics or fundamentals, so I'm not trying to drag you into that. But the idea that's what's driving gold. It's one of the biggest issues on gold is that obviously when bond rates go up, the price of the bonds go down, and if you just look at the 10-year, it's highly correlated with gold prices, Danielle. That's the only reason why I'm interested in it. Look at that
Yeah,
bad
for
boy.
sure. Yeah, look at this. Look at this chart. I mean, gold is just looking absolutely phenomenal, and again, this is where you have the squeeze, right? So you have the squeeze setting up. You have that consolidation where gold was just going sideways, going sideways,
Yeah.
going sideways, not really doing anything, and then boom, it finally breaks out. So typically, what we try to do is try to get involved like before that happens. And I mean, gold, this thing is absolutely crazy. If you look at the weekly chart, look at this.
Yeah, I know.
Weekly
I know.
chart shows that it was consolidating as well. And so typically when you get that weekly chart breakout, um, that's going to last for several weeks. And so
Right.
I
Well,
would
now
say that
is this a GDXU or is this just gold?
this one is just gold futures.
All right. Well, show us the GDXU, please,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the miners, and as we try to tell our subscribers and clients, miners didn't do anything for I don't know 5 years, uh, for a variety of reasons, but now because they're so leveraged, as they start to sell their gold in the ground to the future to get in the future contracts, all of a sudden their net worth is going up, 5-10% a week
Uh-huh.
because of selling forward their gold. Which then, and the other thing is happening in it is that they're actually paying down debt. A lot of these guys had a lot of debt when gold prices were low, and they needed dough. Now they're paying off that debt. So from a fundamental standpoint, um, it hits all the buttons. And then when you look at the technicals of it, you're like, habada, habada, habada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just have the bonds kind of consolidating on the weekly chart. Looks like maybe we're gonna break out here.
Uh-huh.
But miners, really, really good call. Nice job. Nice trades you got on there. Um, yeah, not
And we
not
don't even,
too much.
we only sold them once this year, but they just went straight up and all of a sudden became, 8% of a portfolio. That's when I have hair left, and there's a reason why I do have hair left. Because, we actually do, we do like to take some profits here and blah, blah, blah. All right. So big wind up here now. Give us the market outlook, girl. How about through the rest of the year?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm pretty bullish overall. I mean, looking at the NASDAQ's consolidating on the daily chart.
Yep.
It's possible that we break down here, but I think that overall I'm still going to stick with the upside. There are a few canaries in the coal mine here. I don't love that Microsoft is close to breaking the $500 price point.
Yeah.
I don't love that Microsoft has pulled back so much after earnings. Meta, it bounced decently well today after the move that it had yesterday. Wasn't really ideal. Amazon's holding up all right. Nvidia, everybody was asking about Nvidia today. People are
Yeah.
worried about Nvidia after it gapped down yesterday. I would say that first of all, I was looking for a move down into about 165 for a buy, and we hit 167.24. So that was pretty close. I would have preferred to see more strength in it today after the move that it had yesterday. And so I will tell people that I think that overall the Mag 7 is a little bit suspicious right now just because we have seen a lot of these stocks kind of break down, but I also think that it's going to depend on earnings. We have Broadcom earnings coming up.
Yeah.
Broadcom, the chart looks yeah, looks really strong. You have a nice
Yeah.
technical pattern. You
Well,
bounced at the 50 simple.
AVGO Broadcom makes these CPUs and GPUs for, like, for instance, Google, and
Hmm.
Marvell makes them as well. Marvell, had a big stumble just on earnings because I wish on your chart you could say how high are expectations for all these stocks.
Right.
At some point in time, every fund manager that we follow, I was looking today. Every fund manager we follow who has outperformed the market. I don't follow anybody who doesn't outperform the market. The Nvidia is their largest position, and again, at some point in time, your portfolio manager. If like when I had a portfolio manager, or when I ran a mutual fund, I would get this freaking phone call on the East Coast at like 4:05 after the market closing. Hey, Toby, you're long XYZ. You're over your number. You gotta sell. This is when they sent carrier pigeons, Danielle, to us, but it was, it's a real deal. The hedge funds, that they can do whatever the hell they want, but if you're running a regulated mutual fund or a regulated pension fund, et cetera, if you get above a certain percentage, a concentration factor, then you got to sell. That's why September going into the last quarter, in my mind, from a fundamental standpoint, is why we have, it's always been historically weak, because you got the people are basically selling the winners, or selling the winners down, so they get back into the portfolio balance that they need. Otherwise, their manager calls them and tells them they're a bad person, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
Well, it makes sense. And I mean, that's fine. We can just use it as an opportunity to buy because I mean, things were getting pretty extended throughout the summer and it was making it really difficult to come in and find some buys with an edge.
Well, that was, I guess, my final question for you, which is that when you get the hot list, so how does it work? You have like the top 20 stocks on your hot list, and then you go through them, and then you give a buy signal, buy under, etc.
Yes, I mean, typically, I mean, I watch the watch list, and then just for example, because SMR, it was one that was just about to trigger today. Typically for short-term options trades, we look for incoming volume and momentum and a breakout up above, previous area of resistance. So with
Yeah.
SMR, that one came really close today. The only reason why I would say that it wasn't like a final
Oh,
buy is just because the market was just trading in a really inside range day today after yesterday. And so I wanted to have a little bit more confirmation that it was time to buy the dip because, September, when it comes to September,
yeah.
you typically don't want to be aggressively buying momentum longs. So,
Well, I mean,
um,
that is great advice, which was then asked my other question, which is, what are the months that you could take a vacation on? You wouldn't mind being gone for a month.
September.
Okay, September, yeah. Well, maybe
Except for when it comes to long-term stock buys. I mean, the summer is typically pretty good for buying those aggressive momentum longs like that are up near the highs because, you generally have that seasonal bullishness going into July earnings season. But then during September, that's a pretty good time to look for longer term buys for portfolio picks,
yeah.
cost average, that kind of thing.
Well,
So,
there's this positive feedback loop that happens when professional money managers are behind their number, their index for their segment of the world. And shockingly, they start to buy the stocks that have been working the best, regardless of their fundamentals. Even if they are a fundamental buyer, because when the quarter ends, the data comes out in 4 days, and if you're not in the top 1/5, you got some explaining to do. So I understand, how all of a sudden, in momentum, I guess was my going to be question be, how do you measure momentum that just goes gone too far?
definitely just with Fibonacci levels. So
Okay,
usually my first target is a return to the previous high. So that is also Fibonacci 100% retracement. But, just in general, when you're trading a bullish technical stock, trading it up into the previous high is generally a pretty safe bet because it's been there before.
right,
And then after that, if it continues breaking out, that's when you're looking for the next leg up, which is into the 1272 extension that I like to use. And I also overlap that with key psychological value targets. So
what
I don't
the hell is a psychological value
know.
statement? Come on.
So, well, for example, if you look at Broadcom,
Yeah,
Broadcom has been stuck around the $300 price point. That's a key
yes, it has.
psychological value, right? So, trading a lot of these options names, they'll get really sticky around those big round numbers. And then if you notice, Broadcom traded up into 317.35. So I would target 317, but the big round number would be either 315 or 320 because in the options market, you're going to see more volume in the calls at 315 or 320 instead of there's not like a
Right.
call at 317.
Yeah, that's that.
So,
Now we're getting into the weeds,
yeah.
but there's no question that what people don't understand many don't understand when you're buying options is the option market maker who's actually selling you this option. That person, he or she, is doing a variety of things to hedge themselves against against getting wrong sided, and that comes into it as you get into those expiration dates, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. So, just kind of depends what expiration date you're looking at. And when you look at AVGO earnings in particular, I mean, they have earnings this week, so you're going to have higher implied volatility in the option. So, tomorrow I was planning on selling some puts on AVGO because I'm bullish over the earnings report. And those puts are going to have juiced up premium due to that
Yeah.
earnings report. So,
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to sell those puts too.
perfect.
All right, because
May
I
we
I
both be winners.
I am just a Danielle Shay aficionado. I love the fact that you're doing a show here with BBT or BTT. I'm sorry, I can already hear Todd hitting me in the head. Um, yeah, I mean, because it's a great way to trade. It's great to have you be doing all the work and me just pushing the buy or sell button. And then if you can do it on the big screen, OMG. I mean, I'm looking at you on a 60-inch, a high def 4K television, and those charts are like ding, ding, ding. I love them.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's great to be with the network and I'm looking forward to the show and I'm appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, listen, it's Money Mavericks, and I think you're a maverick. First off, you're someone who's not 150 years old. Secondarily, you're writing the code is what makes the difference between just a chart and your charts. And a lot, it's very hard to do. I'm reasonably programmable, but I tried to get into that. And I was like, no, I'm going to call Danielle. I'm going to follow her stuff because you have it all put together. And tell people where can they find you at Simpler Trading. I always mess that up, whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, it's Simpler Trading in the Mastering the Trade Room or at Trader Danielle on X or YouTube.
Okay. All right. Well, it is a blast as always. Look forward to your show. I will be viewer number 1. How about that?
Thank you.
All right. So for Money Mavericks, I'm Tobin Smith, Danielle Shay, El Jefe de la Charts, the boss of the charts. You probably made some money today watching. Come on back.